The last time of the year we're all in the room together in the public domain, would you believe? I hope you've all had a good couple of months. Thank you all for attending this evening. I hope you're all well. First and foremostly, let's go through the housekeeping. There are no planned fire alarms, but should the alarm sound, please exit the building and use the nearest available fire exit. Once leaving the building, please make your way to the muster point, which is located by the staff car park and identified by a green sign positioned in the shrub bed. Please make yourself known to a member of staff if on duty. This meeting may be recorded. The meeting may also be recorded and broadcast by the press and members of the public. Please see section 8 of the guidance for public participation, including recording and use of social media at meeting. And just a reminder to all councillors, please have your phones off on silent, please, particularly when people are speaking, and focus on what's being said. Thank you. Apologies, please. Councillor Martinez, thank you ever so much. Declarations of interest and dispensation. A. To note, any declaration of interest made by members in connection with a gender item, members to specify the nature of the interest. Do we have any?
Do I need to declare one because we were talking about validating later with the Hampshire County Council previous involvement, but not involved in this, that's all.
We're going to be making a decision on it, so it's up to you whether you wish to declare.
Well, it's non-prejudicial, so I don't think it affects me.
It's personal interest for you.
Not what personal interest, no.
It's either personal or pecuniary.
Well, it's not peculiar, it's certainly not personal. It's not
Yeah.
okay,
So is there an interest?
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. To receive any written requests for dispensation or disclosable pecuniary interests.
No.
Fantastic. And lastly, to grant any request for dispensation as appropriate.
And then receive.
Fantastic. So now move on to item 3 and another guest speaker following our last meeting. It's becoming a trend. I very much like it. So I would like you to please welcome from the Waterside Craft Club and Future Community Projects, Natalie Hay. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Assuming nobody wants me to just stand. This is me.
Who does?
Some people in this room recognise me, some people don't. Great. I'm going to give you a really quick whistle-stop tour of who I am so that you know who's speaking to you. It's probably a good place to start. Moved into Hobart Drive in Langdown in 2011. What happened before that is my business and history. 2005 to 2019, I was the co-founder and managing director of a software development company. We started it ourselves, basically from back bedroom, and we grew it to nearly $1 million turnover with 16 staff. Some of that whilst living in Spain, and then operating a UK company with a global team. In 2019, unfortunately, illness and a complete breakdown led to treatment, including being sections and section 2, where I was housed generously in Winchester for a month. I was treated for psychosis, severe depression and PTSD. And 2020, alongside everybody's enjoyment of COVID, I entertained myself with lots of volunteering. And when the volunteering opportunities stopped because of lockdown, I taught myself how to sew. With my mum's help, of course, through that. In 2021, after lockdowns had ceased to be, I noticed that where I was doing lots of voluntary work and meeting people in their houses, doing NHS responders, there was a lot of isolation and a lot of people didn't feel confident to come back out to the clubs that they'd been attending before. I also tried to attend a craft club myself, having learnt to sew, and I was told that I was too young and not invited to the U3A organisation of craft clubs. I did try and explain that I was medically retired, so could fit into the retired category, but I was told, alas, I was not invited. So I spoke to my dad for about 5 minutes, and the conclusion of that conversation was that I would, of course, start my own craft club. So we did that alongside a group of other women that I'd met at Marcella House, which is St Mines locally, where we wanted to have craft be our kind of central thing, but really we were trying to provide a kind of community support kind of set up so that we could make people feel less lonely and make people feel better. But we found that where we first pitched kind of mental health support groups, people didn't want to come along where they were expected to talk about their mental health. Whereas there's something, as you know, in the Shed in Hythe, is a really good community support project that works really well because they're doing something and they just happen to talk about how they're feeling at the same time. So this is the same kind of thing. 22 in this year, done a bit of part-time work, so I'm back on the market. And I've done more community projects, voluntary. This is a short list of my current hobbies. I did try my hand at stand-up comedy recently. That did not go down particularly well. I entered the Southampton Comedian of the Year competition. I was not as prepared as I would like to have been, and I opened my set with, "Please don't vote for me." So the audience didn't vote for me, and I did not get through. Although they did say afterwards I was quite funny, but not funny enough for them to realise that I was joking. So next year I will be job hunting. This is the kind of volunteering that I've done. You might recognise some of these logos. Some of the stuff is UK-wide. My current role is Head of Tech and Innovation for Inspired Women Leaders, a global role. Again, voluntary, but the rest of these tend to be quite local. DAV I've done for quite a long time, and some of them I only did, for a year and a half. So you can recognise some of them. I was also IT support at the vaccine clinic for a while after being an admin for them. So I've kind of got involved in quite a lot of pies in the community, I would say. So I'm just going to share with you, I don't know what time I started, so how long I've got left. Yeah, I'm going to share with you a bit more detail about a couple of projects I've been directly involved in setting up. One is the Craft Club, Waterside Craft Club. Can you all read this? Is that big enough? Yeah. So I think we've got about 75 to 80 people who have been at one point, but we usually get started around about 7 to 10, and now we're getting 20 to 25 on a regular basis. We're in the Sea Scouts on Thursday. We started October after receiving lottery funding. That was not particularly easy, and it took a lot of persuading, but in the end they decided that they were fed up with me phoning them back, and so they gave me the money, which was a good strategy.
That's a good strategy, it's a good idea.
Well, so it was the National Lottery Community Projects, and I really felt passionate that what we were doing was all about linking people in the community. And the reason for rejecting our original proposal was because we didn't have the right kind of bank account. So we just opened a Starling business account. But we had papers in place to open the treasurer account with CSB, so I've sent all the evidence and said, we've got all this paperwork, we've been doing our due diligence, we've got these policies, we've got our risk assessments, we know what we're doing, this is our background, we've been operators in business and other things, consider us, and after a few chases they said yes, and they gave us what we asked for, which is great. So we meet every week, including the holidays. That was a deliberate decision. Quite a lot of clubs are 10 time only, and we noticed with some of our retirees where they didn't have grandchildren or people with families running away, that they felt quite lonely in the holidays, and so we decided that even if there was only 5 of us and we would go to a cafe, that we would be there every Thursday, regardless. And we've had days where we've not been able to get into the hut because of the floods, and we've still met, or gone to someone's house or something. So we try to commit to that, regular touch. This is the pricing that we use, pricing structure. We do a range of activities. No one's a professional. I'm not. I don't actually tend to do the crafting. I just tend to talk, as you can probably tell. And I'm really proud that we have 4 strong volunteer committee. And our creative committee is made up of the members, so we meet usually for a barbecue at my house once a quarter, and we decide what are going to be the sessions coming up, and we coerce and persuade the members to self-teach or to teach each other. And one of the reasons that I like to do that rather than to bring in experts is that it helps build the confidence of our participants up as well. Because quite often they come to, I'm not really good at crafting. And and they bring out their crocheting needle and all these beautiful things that they've done. You think you're amazing! But then you say, well, can you demonstrate? Oh, no, I couldn't. And then after a few weeks and you work with them, and they sort of always come back to me and say, oh, thank you, Nat, because now I've got more confidence in some of the other areas of mine. So I do a lot of kind of coaching with adults as well, and that for me, we use those techniques in those sessions. We just started a satellite Tuesday art class. Last week there were 16 people attended. Started in April as a one-off, 6 sessions. It's actually, this one's only term time only. We use a professional local artist, and it's Tuesday mornings if anyone wants to attend. These are the things they do. One of the reasons that we started it under Craft Club is that the person who had the passion to do it didn't want to be on a committee or have a bank account and the insurance and all the paperwork. So we said, well, we'll do it under Waterside Craft Club organisation because a part of what we do. And so we persuaded the venue and the insurance coverage and everything, and the bank that we would do that, and it was all agreed and written up. And I know it's something that some of the CICs do, where they kind of form an organisation and then have mini projects. And I think that's a good way when you want small things at the start to start without the friction of having to set everything up. It's quite a nice way to launch. Yeah, that's already said that. Citizen stats. This is our attendance, and this doesn't include the committee members. So, and this is all the way from the start, so you can see the trend line shows that we've got growth. The interesting activity that we've got, the popular things are when we do the wreaths. We actually had to take our wreath making workshop off of Facebook in the last 2 weeks because we had 105 people say they wanted to go, because we were charging £4, which is the cheapest by some margin. So we've taken it off and said it's for members. Well, we don't have membership, but people who come regularly, and everybody signed up when they were in club. Because although we don't want to sort of prejudice against anybody, we don't want a whole load of new people coming in where the regulars can't attend. So, because they pay every week, so they're funding us to be able to charge those low prices. We have an emphasis on upcycling and reuse, so as much as possible we try to use household items to create crafts rather than buy kits, and we encourage other people to how they can upcycle things in their house. And for my personal feeling, like the community aspect and sort of anti-loneliness is one of the impacts that we have. You see, there's a lot of people who come who didn't know each other, who are now going to choir together or other things, you know, where they're connecting and doing things outside, which is lovely. How do? Alright, close swap. This is not completely my baby. This is also in conjunction with Aquaponics, which is Lucy Mann, I'm sure you've met before. This is something where Lucy and I met at a craft venture thing, and she was like, I really want to set up a clothes swap. And I said, oh, is that where you have champagne and have 6 items of clothing? And she said, no, that's not what I want to do. And then when I understood the concept, I said I would help her launch it, because sort of launching seems to be my thing. So that's sort of, if you can read that, that's why we're doing it. It's different to the kind of classic clothes swap where you meet a group of girls. It's every size. It's for anti-poverty, building community, and also for the environment. So there's so much textiles that goes into landfill. It might not all go in this country, but even the stuff that's sent abroad goes into landfill there, which is horrific. And there's just a huge impact on the environment. Even when you make denim, for example, the amount of water that's used in creating new denim is huge. So being able to kind of upcycle that or to give that to somebody else is really loved. Pretty much most of the things I'm wearing are from either a charity shop or from the swap. So, and even my fancy laptop case, well, I made that one, but the other one was from the charity. So as much as possible, I encourage people to either make or acquire secondhand. And if you're interested to see how it works, our next swap is on Sunday in the Shore Road Sea Scouts. So anything you don't want, anything you fancy, any families that you know, that there's no cost, there's no entrance fee, you don't have to bring anything, you don't have to take anything, you don't have to give any money. If you come and you get a whole bag of stuff and you think, oh, it's amazing, and I've got a bit of cash in hand, then we take donations. But it is open to everybody and it's no judgment. We're really fierce on that. So some people have mentioned that there's been some people coming and taking the good stuff and taking it to market to sell. And my pushback is always, okay, if that's how they feed their family, that's how they feed their family. Who are we to judge them? And they're like, oh. But you know, everybody has their own path, right? And their own way of doing things. And I think we just need to be very much like, no judgment, this is a community event, it's for everybody. You know, if someone came in with a bulldozer through the side door and took everything, then I might have a discussion with them. But, people are generally very respectful, so that's really good. And this is a picture from our August one. So you can see it's quite busy. The very first one we ran was a little bit like a jumble sale in that we sort of just threw everything together and and by the time people had rummaged through it, it was a bit of a mess. Since then we've learned a lot about putting things into sizes and categories and hanging things. And being sort of respectful with the pieces that people are giving us, and gives that a really nice feel that you're shopping, that it's you're saving something from going to another, so it's kind of fun. And we have 14 volunteers for this Sunday already. So if anyone here wants to volunteer or knows anyone wants to volunteer, let me know. Repair Cafe, again, this is done with Debbie Whitcomb from another community and Lucy. I helped launch this, but I'm not as involved as I was. The next session is Saturday. We have some impact. You might have seen this already on Facebook. So we target around 15 items a session. Some of them don't get done on the day. These are the ones that get done on the day. The idea is that we're saving things going into landfill again, and we're repairing things. So we have sewers, we have electrical repair people, we have people with glue guns, people repairing toys, all sorts of things. And we work closely with the other repair cafes for volunteers as well. So if anyone wants to give them a hammer. And we've worked with the people from the shed as well to provide some things. And when we can't do something, we'll refer them out to something else. Cool. So it's just kind of trying to create that ethos that it's better to try and mend something than to throw it in the bin, and try and be less of a thrower in the community. Okay, what next? So I've got a few ideas of what I think the community could do next. So this is with Lucy as well. So where we have sort of leftover stuff from the close swap that is not good enough to go to the charity shop, some of it gets upcycled into cleaning cloths, but there are other textiles that aren't quite suitable for that. I personally upcycle things. Actually, we can show you something I've upcycled from a pair of denim jeans I just bought for her. So yeah, you can make all sorts of things out of denim and bits of fabric. So the idea is that when we had COVID, there were women locally, or not just women, men's one, who were sewing at home, and they were making the bags off the back of the chairs for school, and they were making face masks, and they were making scrub bags and all sorts of things. And they've kind of gone back into the community now, and there isn't a clear kind of purpose. A lot of people I speak to say, oh, I miss there being a thing that we can do together, certainly for the ones that focus who want to come to something. So I'm hoping that we can work together with some of the charity shops that are selling their rags for pennies to actually take some of those clothings and upcycle them and make them into either new clothing or changing sleeves and stuff like that, or into bags or toys. Dog toys probably not toys because of the regulations. And that we give a purpose and a sense of community to people who can do that, and then we can give them a back to. So that's an idea. And if we do it, I would like to kind of do it and promote it, and then go to like Solent BBC and say, hey, why don't we replicate this across the UK? And also we've been talking to Limited Transition. I had a conversation with Sarah this morning about how they do that side of things. So there's already people in the community, other communities doing it, so we know it's a model that works. Slightly different. I can say what spelling mistakes now.
No. I was curious. I didn't expect that to be next one.
No. Arts Council. What's it called? It's just gone out of my mind.
What's that our system?
Culture in Common.
Culture in Common.
So Culture in Common have been put together to spend the money that Arts Council have given this community in arts and culture. And one of the things that came up in their surveys is people wanted to do more comedy, wanted to watch comedy, wanted to get involved in comedy. There's some happening in the Dusty Barrel, and there's some happening in the Attic in Totton. But the numbers are still low, and there's this sort of space. They've done some workshops that had good uptake, but there's this kind of space for like a community group to get together and do regular stuff. I did both the improv and the stand-up lessons, and I loved both of those. I think improv slightly more. Stand-up I found difficult for me because you have to actually practice and rehearse, and you give the same set every year. So every week for a year, honestly, as a stand-up. I was like, no, I can't remember that. I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
We do have a high resident in the final, in the community final.
Did you?
We do.
Who is it?
Michael.
Oh, okay, yes. No, in fact, who was I talking to earlier from the church?
Yeah, he's in the Spartan Comedian of the Year final.
Yeah, that's the one I fell out of, so I'm not talking about that. So the idea is that with this type of club that you basically, so I do Toastmasters, you've probably heard of that, it's like public speaking training in Southampton, it's all around the world, and it's really good if you want to, I mean I'm not demonstrating a very good option here, but if you want to have that confidence to stand up and give a presentation, it's really good, but it's a little corporate and a little stuffy, whereas something like this can help people just have a bit more fun and a bit more build their confidence. It's somewhere in between going to somewhere like Toastmasters and going to a drama group. So that's kind of where I see this sitting. And just, if anyone just enjoys comedy, doesn't want to perform, but just wants to listen. And I was thinking that like the established comedians or the regular comedians could come and test their material. So they want to do a set, but they don't want to test it in a club, and they come and perform it to the club, the group here, and we just immediately give feedback. Oh, that joke didn't land because of this, or I love that bit, maybe we put that first. So rather than having to constantly talk to their friends and family with their sets before they perform them, then they can come and do this. So there's lots of ideas around that, and I'm working with Jackie from Culture in Common to do that. And this is a fresh idea from this morning, so you have to forgive me for it being fresh. Conversations that I have with people in the community sometimes spark new ideas. And there are a number of smaller groups of people who meet and would benefit from building their confidence. So certain people coming out of Marcella House as well are looking for some of this, and they got quoted £4,000 from a drama group to do some confidence coaching. So I can certainly immediately see there are a number of organisations and individuals in our own community would be able to add into this. You know, whether that's do your colours or, you know, makeup, dressing, you know, how to kind of present yourself, how to do the power stance, you know, talking, lots of different things, you know, providing mentors and people in the community. Maybe it's someone new in the community who doesn't know what things are available. How do we kind of signpost? So that's what I'm pitching as a new idea, but as I say, fresh off the drawing board, and we need a lot of work first. That's it. How do I do?
Fantastic. Now, thank you ever so much. That was brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Natalie. Before I come to the rest of the council, there's a couple of points that I wanted to ask, but we'll let the room go first. Does anyone have any questions, anything they'd like to ask Natalie?
No.
First?
Actually, a very nice presentation. It's done in a very professional way. What you're doing is you're getting ordinary people together to be themselves and to try and develop. And the model clearly works because you do one after the other. What do you think that we need to do to take that sort of thing to the next level? Because it really is, you know, building people's confidence. Yeah, people try and things they haven't done before, learning crochet or whatever it was they do. It's all about improving the quality of life for individuals, which is the fundamental reason for anyone around this table, really. But from the perspective of what you're doing, what do you think needs to be done to take it to the next level, to get perhaps a bigger audience or to deal with some of the more challenging issues?
I think there needs to be, you know, a structure. At the end of the day, I'm one person, and I'm doing this in my spare time at the moment. And fortunately, as everybody around this room will realise, that we're on harder times with finances, and I'm running out of savings, so I will have to get a job, which reduces the amount of time I can give to stuff like this. But there are so many people in the community, even in the street that I'm in, there are individuals that when you stop and you talk to them and you find out, you know, what they did as a career or what they kind of want to do. There's so many skills, and it's just having that structure to whether that's a CRC or something to kind of bring those people together and actually get them to leverage it. You know, there's a guy down the road from me, and he said that his neighbour opposite had a kitchen put in, and they basically ran out of way and did, you know, got paid and ran away to finish it. And he went out his kindness of heart and just fixed it for her. But she didn't know he had technical, you know, the electric skills and all the things he needs to do. And he did that because he had that nice feeling of being a good citizen. And I think sometimes there are lots of people who want to volunteer and want to get involved, but A, don't think they can, haven't got the skills, or they don't want to be in a committee, or they don't want to commit to anything. Whereas I think if you had a structure where it's sort of like a flow of skills or an understanding of people can kind of almost come and go with what they can do, rather than like, wait, you can be signed up for the next 6 years for this, then I think you're, but also it's building confidence, isn't it? It's having somebody there, and a number of people who believe in people and can kind of respect people and treat them well and help them realise that they can do better. That wasn't a very clear answer, but...
That was a good answer. Thank you.
So,
We're just going to ask you, where's your venue? Is that a problem? Have you got a regular venue so people know it'll always be there, like the comedy club or the confidence building one? Are they all at the Scout Hut or the?
So the art class and the craft and the swap and everything like that is at the Scout Hut, which is okay as long as you don't want it in the evenings, and you don't mind having a muddy car park. The repair cafe has been moved to Blackfield because that's now a free venue. Blackfield Baptist Church has been provided to Lucy for free. The comedy, we're looking at Dusty Barrel. Jackie thinks that they'll open their upstairs room just as long as you buy drinks, and the attic, which would be renting. So they're okay. I mean, if we're thinking really big picture, I would love something like the community building to be open more often and to actually be this kind of walk-in, walk-out centre. I think we should have business support there, and I think we should have networking. Well, anyone, but I was thinking of the one from Lake Brinton.
You mean community centre?
The community centre, yeah, so like a community centre. So I know that there was talks with Arts Council about putting in like a kiln and having kind of, you know, like in Southampton you've got, is it So Create, which is a bit like a shed, but it's got a 3D printer in it, and loads of kind of crafting things and sewing things and you know, other things that you can, if you're like a solopreneur, you could be like, oh, I need to print some leaflets, or I need to create something, I need to, so you go and you use those facilities. And you don't have a co-working here, do you? When I was living in Malaga, there were lots of co-workings, and that meant that the people who were working from home didn't get lonely, and what happened was this cross-pollination of other things came together and joint ventures were created. So I would love to see more of that in the business side of things. But yeah, there are venues. Everyone's prices are going up. That's a challenge.
Philip and I have started using the community centre as much as we can for some things we do, and the guy seems very keen to get the cafe. Obviously, it's you buy the drinks there, I don't know if that matters, and get the rooms used. So yeah, it might be a good place to go and have a chat with him.
Yeah, definitely. If you send me the contact details, that's great. Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
I may have missed it, Natalie. Did you mention about working with the men's shed at all?
I'm a member now.
Ah.
It's not men's shed, it's Hyde shed.
Sorry.
It is right, yeah.
I mean, presumably there's a cost.
Yeah, so the shed have come to us, I persuaded them to teach us how to do bird boxes one session, so they came for a couple of sessions and helped us with that. Although they tried to sort of take over a little bit, so they were using the tools for us. I give them feedback. No, they're lovely in there, and yeah, I'm now a member. They are going to be providing a cupboard for us. So they're providing the labour, and we've got some funding to have an inbuilt cupboard in the Scout Hut, which is partly for Scouts and partly for us, so that we don't have to keep driving sewing machines.
Oh, that's great. As long as we're all talking to each other.
That's my favourite part of this, is like communicating with everyone. So this morning I was having a conversation with 52000 and Community First, just a general just to make sure there's not an overlap, and if there is overlap, how do we work together? I think that's really important, because there's so many resources, and we should really be sharing our resources and making sure that together we do the bigger things, right? So I don't want to be standing on anyone's toes, and I want to work with people, not do something different.
However, as our clerk and Councillor Cullen and others recently went to a volunteer, it was an event with parish and town councils, and it's going to become abundantly clear that parish and town councils are going to rely on more partnership working, more volunteer groups and organisations, and people are going to have to rely more and more on that moving forward, such as the ones that you've mentioned today. And you know, you've mentioned the issue about finance. Parish and town councils are in a similar situation. So these volunteer groups are becoming more and more important about picking up the isolated people, the lonely people who probably don't know volunteer groups, people who've moved to a new area. And you know, there's going to be opportunities out there, but there's going to be more and more reliance on volunteering. And councillors know, in our time, anyone's been councillor for a little while longer, it's becoming harder and harder to fund and support local organisations. One I would suggest, if you haven't already, is engage Age Concern, because there might be some crossover in that have access to some people. It's a misnomer, there's younger people than you'd think get involved, and they might have... Yeah, volunteer people, that's an example. That's a design one here. That's a good one. But how can councillors help you? How can the council assist? Is it promoting? Is it engaging? Obviously, we have an event that goes on kind of activity, which I believe you might be aware of.
Yeah,
we
we
can
don't
do.
do that yet.
So, how can councillors support you following this presentation?
I think it's removing the friction for new organisations and new groups to kind of get set up. So, you know, the comedy club wasn't even my idea. Somebody in Hythe wanted to do it. I was in the Tottenham one. They did this amazing course. They were really excited about it, and they said, "Oh, let's have a club." And then it stagnated because nobody. Then someone was like, "Oh, well, you're going to need a bank account, and you're going to need a constitution, and you're going to need a committee," and everyone went, "Oh, I've got full-time jobs. I can't be bothered with that." And I think that's sort of there is a certain amount of reality where you do have to have safeguarding and structure and policies, and I do agree with that. But I would love to see, you know, the council or the community having almost like a central organisation. I know Community First does this a little bit, but it's a little hands off. It's kind of like, oh, we'll send you some templates and you edit them. But, you know, almost if there was a central CIC that was like, this is what's happening in the waterside, and you can be a pilot project rather than your own separate organisation. And then things are kind of structured around that, because you can centralise all of the admin and the bookkeeping and all of that using, you know, local suppliers, so you're keeping the money on the water side, because every community organisation needs to do all of these things basically the same. So why not centralise that like you do with government, right?
I'm not quite sure how that would work, and I'm someone who has to be safeguarded for something he does outside of here. And you know, we have our, you know, the football club, it's practically a full-time job with volunteers involved, so I'm not quite sure how logistically that works. But
it's more the administration overhead of it, you know, managing the paperwork and making sure the policies are right. So maybe that's guidance, maybe it's sort of hand-holding. For example, when we wanted to get funding for the clothes swap, some of our volunteers were not able to fill out the forms required from the local organisation for funding. So this is why someone like myself gets involved, because I've got a tech degree, so I can do it. But it should be more accessible to other people as well.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have anything else they wish to raise? Thank you ever so much, Natalie. That was a really good presentation. There was a lot of initiatives there that filled a lot of gaps that really made a difference to the community, particularly the ones that are, you know, this is the council's very keen on cutting down its carbon footprint, and you know, the also clothes swap in particular, and the work that we're doing to recycle and upcycle, that's incredible. And I think those sort of things are going to make a real difference. So thank you for everything that you do. Okay, it's up. Would you like to stay and sit? It's a public meeting.
Depends how long it is.
You can go at any time. Council, come.
I was just going to ask, would it be possible for you to share your presentation with Claire so she could give it to us? Because there was a lot there, you know, to take in. So.
Yeah, and I talk a lot faster.
It's fine. Listen, you're in a room full of people who love the sound of their own voice. Don't comment.
The comedy book.
Everyone is a volunteer, but they at any time. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we now can move on to item 4 in the agenda, which is the safety briefing. We do not have the police with us today, probably out doing more important things. But we're going to now move on to the ATSO's report, which I presume you've all had an opportunity to read. Yeah. Perfect. I would note that there's a couple of things in there that appear to have happened on the day of the last meeting. So the issues regarding the parish hall in particular. So while that report isn't overtly lengthy, a couple of those things happened arguably 2 months ago. So it's not being so as extensive, which is a positive. They've been doing an incredible amount of work, but it was this time 2 months ago where the issue regarding the parish hall happened, wasn't it? And that's why it's in this report and not the previous report. But they're doing an incredible amount of work, and it will be a busy time over the Christmas period. We will see. Okay, is there anything officers wish to add? Okay, fantastic, thank you very much. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the minutes from the previous meeting. And back in September, time really does fly, doesn't it? This is Wednesday the 27th of September. I'm going to go page by page, and if there's any issues at all, please just raise your hand and let me know, okay? Page, is that? I'm sorry, Captain Hassan, put your hands in the air.
I'm premature, there is something. But
okay, we'll start with page 45. Okay, page 1. Because obviously it's 45 on here. Page 46. Page 47. or page 3? Go on. Okay, no.
There's page 9 on,
Okay, page 4? Yep.
Oh, well, sorry, I've got several different page numbers here. I've got page 8 as written on the thing.
What's the item?
Page 48.
Is that 48?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we there?
Yep, we're on page 48, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually in Councillor Dowd's report about the CCTV cameras. Have we got any updates on that? Are we continuing?
No. It's not for updates, just to see any questions.
It's just approving the minutes.
Yeah. So you,
There's nothing questions.
you can do it at questions to district councillors or questions
Oh, right,
to
okay.
chairs. Is that okay? Perfect. 49, Councillor Harrison.
On page 9, minute 141. Appointees to DAF. Current appointees are Owen, Delamere and Harrison. Resolved, Cullen and Delamere, but didn't say unresolved.
Yeah, apologies, missed that. Absolutely, we'll get that corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's absolutely right. Sorry, Chris.
Sorry.
Okay. And 50. Any other issues? Perfect. So I will sign those. Perfect. That's yours. We now move on to item 6, which is Chairman's announcements. Okay, so that, I'm afraid, is again quite a busy last few months, so there's quite a few things to go through. The Mistletoe Fair, the Parish Council helps organise the annual Mistletoe Fair, which will be held on December the 2nd in the village. Please come along and support the event. Local businesses and stalls, which will include many local groups and good causes. It is Christmas after all, so please come down and you may see a certain man in a red suit. Free parking. Hive's 2 NFDC car parks have free parking throughout December on each Saturday, that's the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th and 23rd, and Sunday the 17th too. Please promote this and encourage as many people to support the local businesses this December. We're very lucky to have a vibrant and diverse offer of shops and places to eat in the village. Waterside Christmas Appeal. The Waterside Christmas Appeal, organised by the Handy Trust, Gang Werley, Scouts and Guide HQ and Frawley Youth Life, is currently looking for donations to support local families and children at Christmas. There are drop-off points throughout the Waterside. Items needed include gifts and daily items such as toiletries, and any donations will be appreciated and will make a difference. Remembrance Sunday. On Sunday, November the 12th, the parish held various Remembrance Day activities, and once again, all ages within our community came together to pay their respects to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, and indeed those lives who are still impacted by conflict. So many of the parish honoured those for whom we remember on this day, with hundreds attending the parade through the village following a pointed ceremony at St John's Church. It's where I had the honour of laying a wreath on behalf of the parish council at Prospect Place. Councillor Delamere laid a wreath at the Lynchgate at All Saints Church, and Councillor Joins represented the parish at the Memorial to Hyde Hospital. All services were very powerful, moving, and it remains as important as ever to remember those involved in conflict past and present. My thanks to all those who arranged and took part in remembrance. My thanks also go to local volunteers in Councillors Dowd and Osborne for the Hive Tidy Up and arranging a Hive Centre Tidy Up last Sunday to help look after the village centre. Action days like this are really important and appreciated by the community, and I'm very grateful and proud for everyone who was involved, so thank you. Water disruption. Several weeks ago, our parish suffered with the loss of running water for several days, which impacted all of the community. And I wanted to thank on record the parish council officers for helping to arrange the use of Jones Lane as a water collection site, which did prove invaluable for Hive Centre residents, and for engaging with NFDC throughout the disruption. Our local councillors will be feeding back any learnings to NFDC officers who form part of the local resilience forum and to engage with Southern Water. There are lessons to be learned, but I want to, on behalf of the council, pay thanks to all the local residents and volunteers who came together to support their neighbours, friends, family and wider community through collecting much needed water. There are many examples of community spirit from Hive and Lytton residents, and they made a huge difference. It was a challenging few days. The Halk Awards. Hive and Lytton scooped the award this year in the annual Halk Awards with our very own clerk, Sue Bailey, winning the Hampshire Clerk of the Year. We're very proud of her for her achievement, and it's a credit to her and all of our staff here at Parish Council Sir Robert. And lastly, former councillor Kath Wade. Sorry, so a former parish councillor, Kath Wade, passed away last week, aged 93. Kath served on this parish council for 4 years during, sorry, it's the 1990s, but I've just realised I put a typo in, wrote 1900s. That's not correct. Alongside her husband Stan and son Malcolm. Kath was well known for rearing dogs with local families within the community and lived in Hythe for nearly 60 years. As for her grandson, I won't be writing a card of condolence because it's very odd writing to myself, but the council saddened to hear the loss of another former councillor, which has been unfortunately a common occurrence. There we go. That's Chairman's announcements. We now move on to reports by county and district members. Have we all had an opportunity to read Councillor McAvoy's report? She represents South Waterside, which is the furthest down area, and then takes into Holbury. But it's a very tiny part of Highlands represented by a different councillor. Okay, so we now move on to County Councillor Malcolm related to the Hythe.
Thank you, Chair. It's been quite a busy time. In the last council meeting, we debated the budget gap of 132 million and what actions are being taken to get central government to support from 2025 to 26. In addition to the further cuts, Hampshire County Council will have to make additional cuts. It's clear that the Hampshire MPs, who the council are supposedly lobbying, being the ones who voted for the reduction in local government support in the first place, are not doing anything. Despite the administrator's continued reliance on this approach, as they all belong to the same party, the government, the local MPs mostly, and the administration, it is difficult to see a resolution. The council's funds looking dire straits for 2026. In addition to the council meeting, I also attended Children's Family Advisory Panel, the Corporate Parenting Board, and Children and Young People Select Committee. This latter meeting had the annual presentation from CAMS, Children's and Adolescent Mental Health Service. Now the average time for referral to treatment is 70 weeks, up from 62 weeks last year. I made my views on this stat very clear, as did the other members of the committee, and we're all of the same mind. As the service is vital for young people, they are trying hard to address this issue so the committee will increase its monitoring of their progress. On the local route, the Ealing to Hull recycle route, which is currently having works done in both Dibden, Purley and Butts Ash to put in zebra crossings, was funded by Seven Hill Government Fund. However, the cost of the scheme is now greater than the original grant, so reductions on the signage and road markings have been made on the route, including in Hythe and Dibden. All local residents' concerns for audits, and we have been many, have been sent to the implementation team, who are replying directly to the residents' responses on this issue. I had a meeting with the leader and deputy leader of the council and raised two issues. Firstly was the response by Southern Water to the water shortage we recently experienced, and the fact that many vulnerable people on the list to have water delivered did not get any. Hampshire County Council and the Resilience Forum are meeting with Southern Water, and they will push this point that needs to improve. And the fact they need to invest in water supplies with sewage removal. Because Southern Water have been hammered recently for putting sewage in the sea, which is going to get out of jail 3 times for them, they've now decided to invest some money in sewage treatment, but they've done nothing in water distribution. They are, as you would guess, they have put money into their shareholders. Secondly, I raised the A326 works with the leader, and the roads code off with little or no working going on, which winds up local residents who don't agree with road modifications in the first place. I do not think they will deliver the road and traffic improvements Hampshire County Council think they will, a fact I had previously made them aware of, in addition to the fact that there was the exclusion of anything to address the APV moving on to Dibden Bay, as was advised by officers. The officers said this. The leader did not think that was the case, and he said he would find out why I've been told that. The answer is the truth. No provision has been made, nor is in any of the NFDZ plans for housing either. They seem to think that APB carrying their cards close to their chest, and will not bring anything up until later on in the decade. We shall see. Finally, Chairman, Hythe Quarry is closing for the winter due to the poor weather conditions. It's difficult for them to operate effectively. It's interesting, the quarry shutting for that reason. I don't think I've come across that before anywhere. Anyway, if I know more, I'm advised as councillor in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Malcolm. So now we move on
Thank you. Send it
to
to you.
reports from district members. Let's check. We hear from the same people, so let's go differently. Let's go alphabetical. Councillor Clark, let's kick off.
Only one small report, which was to the reduction of council tax committee task and finish group. That I received a report from Ryan Stevens, who's the lead on that, about various small changes to it, but I don't think particularly it's that engaging or particularly interesting at this moment because no decisions have been yet be taken. But we'll have a report later on. Apart from that, Mr. Chairman, that's it.
Thank you. Let's go to your Hive South partner in crime, Councillor Cullen.
I attended the task and finish startup group. I'm not going to say more because Councillor Dowd took copious notes and is probably going to give a much better description of the time possibly.
Well, I want to hear those copious notes. So, Councillor Dowd for Hive Central, the floor is yours.
They're not copious, they're very brief. On 2011, I attended the newly, with Councillor Cullen, the newly formed Affordable Housing Group. The idea is to look at the issues around provision from construction, finance and planning regulations, including the local plan. Members represent wards from all over the district, including the Waterside, and the group will run for a year. Thank you.
That was brief, Councillor
Yeah,
Dowd.
we've got lots to get through.
Yeah, okay, Councillor Osborne for Dividend Purdy, please.
Working with the NFDC officers, the Welfare, Open Space and Homeland Avenue, we had a bulb planting day where we invited all the schools. I was given about 2 days notice, it was pouring down with rain, but we still had a good turnout, funny enough. We invited local schools and their parents to come and help, and it was on the school holiday. A sunny autumn day, and 4 officers were digging the holes with helpers fully employed planting the hundreds of bulbs. Let's hope for a great uplifting spring show to encourage bees, butterflies and other insects. The good news is the vandalised trees have been recovered, Chris, and we're coming into bud. The tree officer has reinvented his support for us and decided that we will be getting some more trees after all. The lead resident on this is Maxine Brooks. She was a great asset and worked tirelessly on this planting day and has already taken the letters from the NSDC into schools as I did. I've also donated to Honey Pot and went there recently to see the trees and the fruit actually growing on their orchard. The Woodside Arts Festival have communicated with me and I've given funds towards activity in Dividend Purdy. Living After Loss towards the support of this very valuable service. Handy Trust to assist all that attended the summer activity. On the Sunday 19th of November, yes, there was a clean-up. I don't know if Philip's going to say about that, are you?
Not if you're doing it.
It was a great success. Philip and myself met at 2 p.m. outside Waitrose, and a dozen volunteers arrived ready for action. We didn't know most of them. And they brought their own gloves and tools, and some from Holbury, Dibden, Marchford. The High Street was in need of care and filled 18 black bags. Wow. Full of leaves, rubbish, loads of leaves, loads of weeds that need hoes, spades, etc. to remove them. Finished at 3:30, thanked the enthusiastic workforce. The bags were loaded into our 3 cars and we took for disposal to the parish depot. Thank you. I've written to the NFDC office to request better bins for the huge number of cigarette butts that are discarded all up our village areas. And also, on a negative note, the dog deaths in the High Street was noted to be a problem and needs addressing urgently. Today it was worse, in actual fact, than Sunday. I met a local group to discuss community energy and there'll be a fuller update at the next climate committee. I attended the St Andrews Memorial Service as the Dividend Purdy councillor. Watertown talks continue to be very interesting, and the last one was observing the area arrival of spring by Sean Russell. Thank you.
Thank you. So alphabetically, we come to myself next for Hive Central. Monday, October the 9th, we had a full council, and I did actually ask a question of the portfolio holder for community safety and wellbeing, because at that time it was the council had a responsibility to undertake an equality impact assessment following Freedom's decision at that time to advise a local Valley Swimming Club they could no longer use our local pools in the Freedom Run leisure centres. I highlighted the decisions on popularity and unfairness and stop access for many children with special specific needs to learn in Central Life School. I did follow up by raising frustration at the lack of communication with residents and club members who had contacted him and the council, and the failure to acknowledge the matter in a Housing and Communities panel. I was disappointed by the reply, which did not answer the issues I had raised. However, since the meeting, Freedom and Appleton Water Swimming Club have reached an agreement, and Freedom are no longer proposing changes to the club's existing programme. This is a hugely welcome outcome, and a huge credit goes to the club's members and supporters who have campaigned really hard on this matter with the local council's support. I did also speak in support of a motion that asked the council to consider the impact on younger residents in all its decisions, highlighting how an ageing population and a council that was not especially representative of the residents, with only 1 out of 6 being female, and I'm still one of the youngest councillors. It's not necessarily encouraging, and this would be a process where it has to be always acknowledged. The ruling group, Ruling Conservatives, voted against in full, so the motion was defeated. I also contributed to an amendment made by Councillor Malcolm to propose parking fare increases, which were considerably above inflation. The amendment suggested only raising by inflation, approximately 7%. To support local residents and traders, but this was voted down by the majority group. There was really thoughtful, prudent and passionate arguments raised by opposition councillors. On Thursday, November the 16th, I attended the Resource and Transformation panel, and we heard a report on the complaints received by NFDC for 22-23 council year. A total of 96 were received, which is up year on year. That's 81 in 21-22. The Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman has recorded 12 complaints which reached a final decision, and only 4 were subject to a detailed investigation. However, it should be noted that the council has taken steps to compensate complainants and has compiled with the local government and social recommendations. It was a really informative report, and I did ask questions on any learnings in future reports, and if we're anticipating higher complaints due to service changes such as green waste and wheelie bins in the coming years. There are certainly issues that are not reaching that stage at the moment due to engagement by officers and councillors. I have to say, like every council, there is a way of sort of interrupting the issue and hopefully resolving it before then. The draft corporate plan was presented to us for the council, which is going through consultation and scrutiny. There were points raised on partnership working, youth strategy, engaging with other councillors, and shared responsibility and emergency preparedness, which is quite topical, and as well as collaboration with our town and parish councils as well. A326 improvements, Freeport, environment, housing, areas of deprivation and high streets were all highlighted. And I did mention personally there needs to be a wide focus on partnership working on areas such as open spaces, also where county funding cuts are going to impact the lower level councils, and where partnership working or taking ownership of new responsibilities that our residents expect of us is going to have to be considered. There were no targets on housing specifically highlighted, but I did suggest more engagement with public bodies on suitable sites we can utilise for affordable housing, police station. And I made the point that the report welcomes work on the A326, but this is not necessarily very popular with local residents, and feedback on this and the Freeport may provide negative responses. We also had a presentation on the council's transformation strategy, which is about creating sustainable organisation for the future. It's more of an overview, with key challenges being financial, climate, modernising service and retaining staff. They talked about customer experience, and it's where councils need to be aware of the impact on any face-to-face facilities such as our local offices here in Hythe. One objective in the report showed a plan to review assets within the council, which is something I think local members would consider, and it's talking about changing the ways of working. And my question to the officer was on the year-on-year drop in how the vacancies are being filled first time from 92 to 81%. Partnership working with agencies such as National Park was also highlighted, and where we consider where we can possibly share buildings in the future was something that I raised, and a focus on graduate pathways moving forward. The council tax relief policy was signed up, as Councillor Klass highlighted. No serious concerns from the panel, although a group of residents will lose around £75 per annum, but they can apply for a special hardship fund, and the recommendations came from the Task and Finish group. The leader of the council confirmed the wash-up session with the chief exec following water disruption in the waterside, and then the local resilience forum will have a formal debrief. Both will take back considerable feedback from local councillors. I highlighted again where NFDC, the town and parish councils, can support community and vulnerable people. There's not a sole reliance on just volunteers, and create a more organised approach for future events where Southern Water have not supported members of our community. Officers are aware of emails from local councillors on a lack of cohesive plan for available access for collecting water, support for care and residential homes, improved engagement, an updated vulnerable list and accessible collection sites. The council will engage with Southern Water, and there's going to be a consideration of how the council can support community action for future incidences. I did also ask the finance lead officer if investment in freedom was a net figure, which is discussed, but I did not get a detailed response. Housing. The works have begun on the old hospital site. We looked at 2024's work on the 22 new affordable homes, but the old building is now being knocked down. But this is much needed, and I think this is a really popular development, so credit to NFDC there. The early bird offer ends on Friday at a £25 saving for green waste to sign up to the programme. And on High Sea Wall, following concerns raised to me by a local resident, both they and I contacted the management company responsible for maintaining the wall on behalf of the owners, and they have visited the wall and I understand made remedial works on areas which have been damaged. Also, Councillor Harrison also raised this with me as well. With the risk of further flooding, this is a wall that runs adjacent to Waitrose, and I think this work is much appreciated. Okay, sorry for the long report. Councillor Malcolm Wade, for Dibden and Dibden Ferry, the floor is yours.
As long as that. Okay, right. The medium-term financial plan for New Forest District Council was discussed at the previous cabinet meeting. Has projected the deficit for 27-28 at 3.5 million. However, the detail behind that headline is not so dramatic. 2.3 million is a proposed reduction in business rate, which has so far not transpired, nor to take people through implementation. And every year they take a load of cash and bug it in reserves to compensate for this. The other 1.2 million covering staffing and other cost increases is covered by the rising car parking charges. So NFDC's family finances are not quite in as bad a state as they might be, certainly not like the county. Their finances are okay. As mentioned by the chairman, we had the U-turn freedom measure to ban all sporting clubs in New Forest rec centres, and it was an outrageous decision which we all campaigned against, and a victory for people power, as all the swimming clubs across the district were against this poor decision. We now have a new procurement strategy, which is part of modernising the council. So is a new tenant engagement strategy, which is aimed at giving all tenants a route to engage in council instead of the previous limited method. One action I'm particularly pleased about is a personal campaign for this, getting NFDC to release some of the millions of pounds unallocated SIL money, community infrastructure levy. The council have been sitting on. If it has around 7 million with a further 14 million due by the end of the decade, this money should be used for benefit of New Forest residents, not sitting in a bank account. £1 million were released this year, and a task and village group set up to review the applications for funding. And I know this parish council will be applying for the Dibden Path and the City Bus. I've also asked Hampshire County Council to apply for funding for the Roman Road North payment. I hope they're all successful. Finally, well, hot off the press, a response to the long-awaited consistency consultation from May 21 was released by DEFRA on Saturday the 21st of August 2023. This response has revamped the consultation as simpler recycling, as advised, and replaced sustainable panel only this today. The new situation for the New Forest is coming as follows. Throw away all your own little leaflets on recycling. Right? Waste, some of it's the same. Waste collection authorities in England must arrange a weekly collection of food waste for all households by the 31st of March 2026. 25 litre cabins for food waste collected weekly with additional 5 litre cabins provided for eternal use. No change there. 80 litre wheeled bin for refuse collection collected fortnightly. No change there. Change. 240 litre wheeled bin for existing material mix, paper, card, plastic, metal, collected fortnightly. This is instead of we were going to put, if I remember correctly, I think it was glass and metal together. Cardboard and paper are going to end up going in another container, like a bag. So that's gone out the window. 55 litre box for glass collection collected monthly. That's the same as current level. That box that we all have is 55 litres, in case you didn't know. So that's going to stay the same. The introduction will be three-phased, based upon the 3 depots, which give us the ability, NFDC the ability, to flex and to adapt in the future and move to either twin stream or fully commingled, depending on the eventual outcome of further work. This tells you there are some aspects which are not yet finalised. The timeline is as follows. Phase 1 is May 2025, Phase 2 August 2025, Phase 3 November 2025. There are still questions over funding support from the government. Will give, as it will give capital support, will be, from the government, will give, as is the capital support, will be based upon a DEFRA model for councils, and there will be no revenue support in the first year. So information will have to be advised the community about regarding the defuture rate strategy has changed. The funding bit is really important. What the government are going to do, they're going to give funding to buy the vehicles, but it's based on a DEFRA model. Now, one of the other things we looked at was the Rural Community Grant, which Highland Digital doesn't get anything. That's based on a DEFRA model as well, and it's so complicated. So there is some concern about that. They won't give any revenue support money for the first year to year 2. So the council has to pay for all the extra people and revenue aspects to this before they get any government support for it. There is still some discussion about how it's going to be collected, because the current district's got a whole plan together, haven't we seen it, sent it out to everybody. We're going to collect 2 wheelie bins, one every other week, and a bag with all the paper and cardboard in. Not going to do that anymore now. We've put everything, waste in one wheelie bin, everything but glass goes in a huge wheelie bin, and you've got the same glass box we have now. It means that some of the vehicles have got to change. It's not better use the same, because we're going to have a vehicle with a line down the middle, waste on one side and waste on the other. That was the idea for when the cardboard and thingy in the bag was put in one side, and the glass, plastic, all the other metals on the other side. Well, we're not going to do that now, because collect it all in one big bag. This also means that the now it's got planning permission MRF has to be redesigned inside, because the MRF was designed, which is where they separate this stuff, on separating it from that agreed formula across the county. So now we're going to have to redesign the inside, which may have some planning application issues. And that's about it really. The government, with its usual efficiency, has chucked a small hand grenade into the system, and all those best laid plans, to quote Robbie Burns, have gone astray. Thank you. Watch this space. There'll be a corporate, there will be some corporate thing coming about this, I think tomorrow or certainly this week, from NFDC explaining, because we now need to tell residents that their future plans for recycling and exchange.
Okay. Thank you. So now we move on to reports from members serving on outside bodies. So, anyone will have any outside bodies they wish to update on? No? I'm just acutely aware that I have a few updates. I've spoken enough today. No? Okay, all right then. Ace Concern have opened the office in Hyde Village Centre in place of the old Thai restaurant on Pyrewell Road. I can tell it's been a long time in the planning, and it's great to finally share this with the community. It's great to have empty units filled, obviously, but this is not a loss to the existing provision in DP, where the old office was a children's shop for the charity. The main shop in DP will remain open and continues to be a huge success for the charity. In the new Hyde office, there will be a foot care clinic, which will be moving after many years from the community centre. This is a much valued service for residents supported by Age Concern New Forest. Last Wednesday, I attended the South East Quadrant Committee, which is a quarterly meeting of local councils at Exby Club, and the Falk were there as well. There was an update from the Forestry Commission, who confirmed Dibden Enclosure car park remains closed, and there is no confirmed opening date due to the issues with the materials not laying as quickly as planned in the car park. There are multiple works going on across the enclosure. Other information shared was that deer numbers are down in the New Forest since 22, and they're doing drone cameras being used to monitor the impact on the landscape. The public space protection orders have had positive responses with 170 people. That's 120 for the livestock engagement and 50 for the barbecues. spoken to and challenged on these activities. Obviously, considering the weather we had, that's probably contributed to why the barbecues and the heat fires were minimal, but still it's a really positive outcome. It was also shared that most road accidents and those involving livestock are caused by local residents speeding on daily commute, which is against the common view. Results are being also achieved on fly tipping in partnership working with NFDC, but remains a major concern. And there's preparatory work for next summer being undertaken for fire service cooperating on protecting the forest and providing access in case of forest fires. There's also an opportunity for the NPA education team to engage with schools if asked, which might be something local members can consider. It was also confirmed that the FALC will be supporting a letter written by the Ringwood Council Chair to NFDC, challenging the rise in car park fares, which obviously I confirm NFDC Council are against. I've also had a call as the chair of this council from the chair of the FALC, Bryce Stratford, who is keen to understand the issues of this local council and others in the New Forest. I was open in the challenges facing our community, including housing, supporting our high streets, public transport and much more, as well as proposing more cooperation with councils to a shared goal. I might have mentioned the 112. And the FALC being more forthcoming in using its position to stand up for local councils and communities. He seems keen to modernise and make the FALC a bit more forward-thinking, proactive and give it a voice, and understood it's not just for rural national park councils. So that's just my update. Okay, anyone else, any outside bodies come to mind? Okay, so we're now going to move on to the public forum, item 9. So we actually have a written item in the public forum today. Do we have any others before I get to Mrs McLean's?
No.
Fantastic. So, former Councillor McLean, former chairman of this parish, has kindly written a letter to us. So she says, "Dear all, I'm sure you have read or heard the proposed sale of the Guide Centre at Lyndhurst, Foxleys. Please, as a parish council, could you write to the district council supporting the saving of Foxleys? It is a valuable centre, not only has historical interest, but gives joy to lots of children to go camping with guides and rangers. I've contacted the chairman of Thorley Council and they're willing to support my request. If your answer is yes, I'll be very grateful. Yours sincerely, Maureen McLean." So, personally, I'm absolutely in favour of this. In fact, I helped the company behind it engage with the council to try and get it as a valuable asset quite a while ago. But is now an opportunity, can I seek councillors' guidance to support this, or do you want?
It's not an item on the agenda to decide upon. However, if you wanted to instruct the clerk to draft a letter,
Yeah.
I think just get a view of the council roughly.
Thank you. So, are we happy to draft a letter? Councillor Joyce?
Yeah.
It was only to say that obviously we had supported and it did get, for a limited period of time, I believe, the protection that not his future with it, community asset protection.
Yep.
It appears as if there's a lot of fundraising to be done, but I would certainly suggest that we support him.
Thank you, Councillor Jones, I completely agree. So are we happy to draft the letter right on behalf of the council?
Send it.
Well, great, fantastic. Excellent. And can we also write back to Councillor McLean and thank her for raising this and actually completely support the initiative? Okay, there are no elected. Do you have any questions to ask the council member of the public? Okay, thank you. We now move on to number 9, which is the public, number 10, which is questions from councillors to council based on what they heard. So, I've seen 2 hands. I'm going to start with Councillor Delamere.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Dowell, in your report at the last council meeting, you said something about the CCTV cameras, and I just wondered if there was any update about whether we're going to.
I'm afraid there's no update at the moment, but I will certainly get back to you as soon as I hear.
Councillor Clark, please.
I was to Councillor Waverley, the LRF, who perhaps, Hampshire County Council holds the secretariat there at Winchester, and having written to Kate Ryan, the Chief Executive of the NFDC at the time of the water outage, indicated that NFDC were a part of the LRF. The LRF didn't deliver what they should have delivered for that particular emergency. And I wonder whether the Hampshire County Council will be looking at the LRF, its structure and what it's aimed to deliver, because it just didn't.
Right, I can answer that, Joe. Right. The Local Resilience Forum did actually what the Local Resilience Forum do. Right, they got a meeting together, they did this, that and the other. The issue was Southern Water. Southern Water did not deliver water to all the residents on the list which they had.
The priorities.
And to make it even worse, one local resident, a single mum with one of the children was poorly, got to him and said she had water, somebody stole it and they refused to deliver any more because he said he'd only had some, which is absolutely appalling. And I shared that with the leader of the council as well. The Hampshire County Council is definitely going to take some water to charge. We're all of the same mind on that one. Because this is whether we have the water shortage in Highland District, we are the only part of Hampshire that's had one. It's had a few others recently, and we need to get some water, get our act together. And there is an agenda item at this, but I've raised it to see what we can do as a local community to try and support and help during any future crisis such as this, because clearly some water isn't working.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Okay. I have a question two quick questions to Councillor Malcolm Wade. One is about your county report, one is about your district report. The County Council just had government funding announced of 132 million over 10 years to support our roads, so 13.2 million a year, which probably will barely touch the sides. But how is that impacting versus the proposed budget cuts where they're going to reduce their highway management and support? And how is that going to be sort of managed? Because part of the funding cuts that they've put out for consultation includes cutting their highways budget. So is this going to be used to fill the gap?
Hampshire County Council's plans at the moment are considering stopping Operation Resilience, no things for resilience for them, which is the resurfacing of roads in order of priority, and just stick to patchwork repairs. Hampshire's roads are euphemistically third world in many places. There are potholes that are repaired 3 times within a space of 6 or 7 months because the repairs are not good enough. Right? The road needs resurfacing, pothole repairs in the end. Hampshire, if it doesn't get more money to replace the money taken away by the government, they will cut everything. They will go down to only doing statutory duties, and that at the statutory bare minimum, because they won't have the money to do that.
And that's even with this 132 million?
Even the 132 million is not enough.
Okay.
Well, it's what is it, over 10 years? It's nothing.
Thank you. Please, when you find more information, bring that to council, okay? About what that's being
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
About what that's being spent on, if you know.
Oh yeah, it will be spent, as what I said, it will be spent on passengers.
Okay. My next question is on the district report. In the information you advised today, are there any plans on how they're going to decide which properties are suitable and which aren't for wheelie bin provision?
The NFDC has already committed to surveying every property in the district to see which houses can and cannot take a wheelie bin. And a good example locally is Talbot Road, which is off Oak Road, where the bin lorry at the moment can't get down there. A little van has to do it, so there's no way that they can have to do wheelie bins down there. Oak Road as well, with no pavements, is a road that has to question its suitability for wheelie bins. So that is a process that is ongoing. There's been no information to say we're going to change it. We can't change it. They have to look at it. It's been done by a third-party organisation.
Okay, that's been an issue for me. Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Councillor Clark.
Sorry, there was one, yeah, I'm just wondering whether the chairman might be aware, there is a bit of discontent amongst the traders, particularly about the market stalls, too close to entrances. There's no banksman. I was down there very early on a Tuesday morning. There's no banksman, there's no marshal. There appears to be lack of care or concern for the traders. We have to recognise that the traders are there trading 6 days a week, whereas the market's just one. And there appears to be some antagonism between them all, which I put my foot into and wish I hadn't. But there just doesn't appear to be much marshalling, well, if any. I just wonder whether you're aware of that.
We are.
And whether we're doing anything about it.
We are aware, the Parish Development Officer's aware, officers here, and we are engaging with the markets managers, local county council member is aware, and we've been engaging with at least a couple of traders who are specifically involved, who are looking after sites that are being developed, if not open yet, who are impacted by current locations. So we are engaging with them and indeed the market traders and the Parish Development Officer. I think any updates or decisions would have to come through the relevant committee, which is GP&F. But I think, is that an appropriate response? Is there anything else that I need to add?
No, that's fine.
Okay? But yes, we are well aware. Thank you.
Okay, one other one. Is the chairman aware that there is some discontent on Kitchers Close about the use of public open space down there? Now, whether it's a parish issue, but I just perhaps address the question here, sure. Just with regard, because some of the residents I was keeping that in mind, were complaining bitterly about it and the lack of use of it. And basically, it's very slippery, very steep, and the kids simply can't play there. Was there any future plans at all for the use of it?
So do you mean next to the new allotment site?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's not ours.
It's not ours.
So it is
It's the
NFDC, and
council, yeah.
I'll approach them about it. I wasn't sure.
Please do.
I would
I hear
say,
some story.
I think you might have given the reason why we didn't accept that as a parish.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
But that arguably for the reasons you've given, but I think that's going to have to be an FTC open space senior part of our plans.
Yeah, delivering leaflets on those are challenges. They're all asking the same thing.
Okay, thank you ever so much for that. We now move on to item 11, which is finance, which is items 11 to 18 in your papers. A is to receive the bank reconciliation report for October 2023. Officers, do we have any comments or anything we need to be aware of?
No, it balances, which it should, as long as it should be.
Perfect. So, is that, are you happy for us to note it?
Yeah, it was to receive that.
Yeah, to receive it, we all happy?
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you. And item B is to approve the accounts of payment for October 2023, which, as you can see, there's a few pages of these. And does anyone have any comments or officers? Is there anything we need to be made aware of?
No, they're all as is. I've received no questions on them in advance, so they're all pretty straightforward.
Okay. So, any questions, councillors? Okay, so can I have the proposals to accept them, please, and approve them?
Happy to approve.
Okay, seconder, councillor Joins. All those in favour? Fantastic. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. Perfect. Thank you ever so much. So we now move on to item 12, which is to consider the recent Southern Water response to water outages for 48 hours for the whole parish, so argue some 72, and whether a community response plan is necessary. This was brought to the council by Councillor Malcolm Wade. I'd be acutely aware I don't want to go over what has already been raised in existing reports. Ironically, we all know what happened because we were all impacted in this room, because everyone here lives in a hive or in an area that might have been impacted. So, Councillor Wade, you brought this to the board.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Two things really. First of all, I would suggest that this council writes to Southern Water about their lack of provision to vulnerable people of water during this water shortage. I mean, that's one action that we can do quite easily. The next one is really a question if this happens again, so it's more than likely that it will happen again, is there something we as a council can do during this period to help members of the community who are vulnerable and in need of water? And I know the water is supplied by Southern Water, But there are other councils that allow, like we did to a degree with making sure that they can use the car park. But other things that we can do to try and help people, because you know, sitting in a queue for hours and hours and hours and hours, okay, when it's okay when you're healthy, but there's people that can't even do that, they can't get out of their house. And if there's something that we can do as members or as council or whatever, it's just posing the question, is there something that we could do in that situation? And perhaps the answer to this, Chairman, is that that when we write to Southern Water and we raise that point, is that something that the local communities can do, and it comes back to a future committee for proper discussion, rather than necessarily discuss it now.
That's actually very eloquent. But I would say that I think this would be also a discussion after the local resilience forum has met. So when NFDC officers have met, when they've spoken with Southern Water, because obviously the feedback you've given is very similar to what Councillor Alvey from Forley and Councillors in Marcham have given as well. And I do think there's an opportunity, and I think they're going to widely encourage local community involvement. But even if local councils were contacting their local care and nursing homes, like Muir House, I think West Hill in my ward didn't have any plant water delivered, and it relied on volunteers, so there's opportunities there. But I do think once the NFDC and local resilience forum have met and reported back to us, then there could be an opportunity, absolutely.
I do think we should write to Southern Water as well, Chairman.
They're not going to be sick of us, Stark.
Yeah, I do. I think it's an important issue on behalf of a lot of our residents.
I can draft a letter and suggest a letter to you. I'm not promising we get any response from Southern Water, given past experience.
Yeah, this is, I take your point on that, but this is a slightly different situation. They're really behind the ball, the game on
So does anyone have Councillor Osborne, is that hand up below?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Councillor Osborne and Councillor Shipman, please.
I'd like to say that I've heard that in previous times the organisation was a lot better, and so say at Applemore the organisation was terrible, there was nobody actually directing the people, and that's why it ended up a backlog from Applemore right down almost into Hyde and then back to Ginger and Purloon. So it wasn't that bad. I was actually stuck in it, so I know it was. And I think people need to know where their collection point is from now on, because as you say, it's not going to be the first or the last time that's happened. So all the people coming up from Langley, Blackfield and Holbury were all coming up here to Applemore because that's the place they knew was open. So we need other councils to be advertising where their water is.
Puzzlingly, they had Eastleigh open at one stage, which ironically I was working opposite there on that morning, but I think they did something up for me that wasn't a good location. Councillor Shinn.
Do we know why Gangwary closed at least a day early?
We ran out of water.
They were due up the deliveries, they told me they closed it because of the fireworks, but the fireworks were actually about 32 hours later than that. That's the reason the team there gave me. They were referring that the actual site closed.
I think also that's also down to, again, that was a pre-arranged event that valued that area for that parish council. And I would, to give credit to our parish neighbours, that they managed, it was local knowledge that got St George's open in Cowshire in the way that it was local knowledge that got Jones Lane open. I can tell you that Jones Lane was proved to be an asset because it took the queues away from Applemore and other areas, and people even could walk there. And my experience in Applemore is that people parked in Tesco's as well and used the trolleys and went through. Yeah. I would personally credit the people on there, in the car park giving you the water. Fantastic representation of Southern Water. It's the wider organisation about when they were telling us and where to go, and the people that were missed.
There also needs to be some kind of road management, because most of that queues were just because people parked the roundabouts. It was just the roundabout by Tesco's just locked up. So even if you weren't in the water queue, people just forced themselves around there. So I don't know if there's something we can supply or that's
it's certainly thing that we can give, because obviously we are but a parish town council, and even if we are volunteers on the day, we've been used to contact care and nursing homes, helping councils given special rights, they can take big vats of water and deliver them around to support people, because there's a lot of community volunteers, but a community can't take everyone's name for GDPR reasons, so you have to take that into account.
One thing we mentioned to Southern Water that they should be delivering to doors. So what I did notice in my area that they were dropping it off on the pavement, which was some people was a considerable difference. And if these are vulnerable people, they can't probably lift up the 24 kilos.
But that's a good point for us to also raise in the local resilience board.
Yeah.
Thank you. Malcolm and Mark.
Some of you may or may not be aware, we had another water shortage earlier this week, where, because it was late at night, not many people realised it, and the water came back on again at 3 in the morning, because there was a problem with a...
There was 3 leaks.
There's 3 leaks,
I actually came home late at night.
Now, the point I'm trying to make is, their infrastructure is so poor, this is not an isolated incident. You know, and I know there was one in Dinner some months ago. So we really do need to engage in Southern Water on this and think of what do we do next time. This is something we can do.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, sorry to come back to this, but the LRF on their own risk matrix was referenced 75, which is the failure of drinking water, which suggests that the LRF should have actually done something about it. And yet we didn't see any action because Southern Water presumably were overwhelmed with what needed to go on. There was clearly no marshalling, as we all know, and there was no blah, blah, blah. So that's when the LRF should have kicked in and done something, because it says in their booklet that they do something. But they didn't, and they didn't do anything. And that's the point about the question really about the LRF, is, okay, you have something, what are you going to do about it? And that, how does Southern Water work with the LRF? Or do they all just sit around looking at each other, or chatting?
Can I answer that? I asked that, and he said that the IRF's job is to engage with Southern Water. It's their responsibility to supply water, end of. They are just an organisation to make it work better. They can engage with Southern Water and say we did it today poorly, but you know the LRF doesn't have a supply of water to send in. It's got to come from Southern Water.
Thank you, Malcolm. Sue, Sean,
Good.
from the officer's perspective, at what stage were you brought in, and at what stage did you engage with, as I understand it was Ryan Stevens, to say, actually, do you know what, Jones Lane's going to help you? At what stage were you brought into the process?
We came in as normal and operated for the first 2 hours of Friday morning as normal, checked the premises, checked the maintenance team, checked all the facilities here, ended up closing the facilities, cancelling parish hall bookings, etc. Then the staff went home, and I was actually online speaking to NFDC during the day, and Ryan as well, updating them to what I was hearing about the situation locally, and I did request a local facility here in the centre of Hyde, and updating what was happening, and it was just a one-way conversation really, me telling him what I needed, what was happening, and him saying, yes, thank you, I'll let SW know.
Perfect. And that made a huge difference.
I don't know what his links back to SW were.
Okay.
So I don't know, and that's maybe where your LRF comes in. I don't know if he's a designated contact at NFDC.
I think it's the chief exec, I think he's one of the probably point of contact with him.
If I'm speaking to him, that's great. You know, I didn't know what his role was, and I was just saying, I want this, I want this, I want this. So,
you got it.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate it, because we do need to see, because whether it is our responsibility or not, the parish council is often the first point of call in these situations. People will come to, well, what are answers, and we need to be aware and involved, even if we're source of information. And particularly as it always happens on a Friday over the weekend, as these things do. It's always a Friday, isn't it? But I think that's probably where we're. I think let's see what the resilience board comes in. And if councils have any ideas, please share them with me as chairman and officers. I do think if you've got care and nursing homes in your ward, should this happen again, you contact them and say, okay, how are you going to deliver water, and is this something that we can, yes, they're going to camp now, but you do, Malcolm, you have police in your house, and we can explore being, you know, a volunteer group to support them, because, you know, they were missed out this time, and other vulnerable people.
It's not so much the carers, Stu, it's the individuals in their homes.
It's
They
collective.
haven't got carers to go out and get the water for them.
But I can tell you that there was a lot, they all relied on volunteers. A lot of people weren't even aware. So thank you for that. Are we happy to move on to the next item? So now we move on to the Climate and Ecology Bill motion, which is, again, pages 19 and 20. Now, This is a letter that we wrote to Julia Lewis, the MP.
No, this is a draft letter.
The draft letter.
I'm going
This
to
is
it.
another letter.
A second letter.
In the
Yes.
same vein.
Following the motion that we put forward to NFDC, which was led by Councillor Osborne, following a member of the public coming into the council, and it's just asking for his support with regards to the motion, which after a bit of back and forth was supported by the council, and then it's just confirming we're happy for this letter to go to him with regards to the motion. Have you all read it? Do you want me to go through the key points, or are we happy with what's there?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so I have a vote in favour that we're happy for this letter to go out.
Yeah.
Anyone against?
No.
Any abstentions? So we're happy for the letter to support the climate and ecology bills go out. Okay? Very praised. All done? Okay, so we now move on to item 14, which is the audited council accounts, which is the 22-23, and that is pages 21 to 24. Before I go through anything, is there anything you wish to share, Sue?
No, they were great. They were, they were good accounts. We've had an excellent internal and external audit.
Well done.
I didn't say it to receive praise, but
No.
as everybody.
No, when the accounts for a council have such feedback like this, it is a credit to our finance officer, Bev, and all our admin officers. So thank you ever so much. So yes, well, thank you to all the officers. Can you please pass our thanks to Bev as well, please, okay? So, from this perspective, do you need me to go through them one by one and read them out like I've done?
No, you need to note that they were received and that you're happy with the outcome, or whatever wording you
Okay. So you'll notice we're happy with the outcome, there were no issues, and the key bit here is external auditor. It's not us marking our own homework, so it's really positive. So we all happy to accept them? Thank you very much. So that now leaves us to exclusion of the press and the public. I'm very sorry, Natalie.
Yeah.
You've got to go enjoy the rest of your evening.
The rescue the dog.
The rescue your dog, yes. And it's recorded.